The alien soldier Keller had lived through 90
Varyn,
battles,
get out of there!
3 invasions, and 2 planetary wars. He had seen starships burn in the sky and mountains crumble under enemy fire. He knew pain, he knew anger, he knew honor, but he had never known fear. His species, the Raltek, were famous across the galaxy for their cold minds and iron hearts. Their children were raised inside war academies. Their adults served in military ranks until the day they died. None of them trembled. None of them hesitated. And none of them ever asked why. But all of that changed the moment Keller stepped onto the dusty battlefield of Ravosna, beside the humans. He had heard rumors about humanity small, soft creatures who lived short lives, but had endless determination. Some called them reckless. Some called them brave. Others called them dangerous. Keller never believed any of these stories. He thought humans were exaggerated myths, tales blown out of proportion by frightened soldiers. But when he walked toward the human command outpost on Ravos, he felt something uncomfortable moving inside his chest. His pulse beat faster than usual. His hands felt slightly tense. His breathing changed. He did not know it yet, but this was the first quiet sign of fear. The battlefield before the storm human. Commander Michael Grant stood near a holographic map, reviewing the enemy movement. He was tall for a human, with sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing. His armor was old and scratched, but polished like a veteran's badge. Around him, his squad worked with a strange mixture of seriousness and casual energy. Sergeant Emily Carter cleaned her rifle while chewing gum. Private Jake Wilson sang quietly while loading explosive rounds. Corporal Ryan Brooks joked with another soldier about losing a card game the night before. The whole camp buzzed with a confident energy Keller had never seen before a major battle. No quiet. No praying. No fear. Humans laughed while death approached. Keller could not understand it. Michael saw him and walked over with a calm nod. "Welcome to Bravo's squad," the commander said. "Stay close today. It's going to get rough." Keller studied the man's expression. Michael was not pretending to be brave. He simply was brave. Keller had seen Roltech generals show pride. He had seen elite soldiers show confidence. But what he saw in Michael was different. It was not pride. It was not arrogance. It was acceptance. Humans accepted danger the same way. Keller accepted breathing. The first, rumbling the ground, suddenly trembled beneath Keller's boots. Not a light vibration. A deep, heavy rumble that made dust slide across the metal plates of the camp. Everyone froze for a second. Michael checked the horizon. There. Early. Hit. Ready. Emily slapped a fresh magazine into a rifle. Jake tightened his helmet. Ryan laughed, nervously. "Showtime." Keller stepped forward. "What is that sound?" Michael looked at him with a strange half-smile. "That sound means you're about to see why no one wants to fight humans." Before Keller could respond, a distant roar filled the sky. Then, another, and another. Massive enemy war machines rolled over the ridge, walking tanks with glowing cannons, armored beasts with steel plating, and hundreds of infantry soldiers moving like a wave of metal. The enemy army was easily 10 times bigger than the human squad. Keller's throat tightened. Heat rose up his neck. His chest felt heavy. He didn't understand the sensation. The alien who had never feared anything in his life suddenly felt unsure. Humans prepare for doom. Michael didn't panic. He didn't shake. He didn't yell that. He only said, "Positions." The soldiers rushed into formation with incredible speed. Emily climbed a ruined transport and set up her sniper rifle. Ryan barked orders to everyone near the barricades. Jake rolled out a box of rockets and grinned like this was a game. Keller watched in disbelief. They were outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded, and yet the humans looked excited. He whispered to himself, "Why do they not fear death?" Emily overheard him and smirked. "We do fear death. We just don't let it stop us." Michael turned and added, "Humans don't fight because we're fearless. We fight because we're stubborn. Jake, lowhead, and because explosions are fun." Keller had no answer. For the first time, it felt smiled. The enemy attack begins. A bright flash lit the sky as the enemy fired the first plasma strike. The blast hit the ground close enough to make Keller stumble. Humans didn't stumble. They charged. Michael shouted, "More! More! Move! Don't let them push forward." Soldiers sprinted toward the burning front line. Emily fired 3 perfect shots in 3 seconds. Jake launched a rocket that exploded a cluster of enemy troops. Keller watched them rush into the fire like they were born inside it. His pulse hammered. His vision shook. His skin tingled with cold prickles. The alien warrior finally recognized the feeling. Fear. He felt fear not because of the enemy army, but because of the humans beside him. Their courage was overwhelming. Their energy was unstoppable. Their willpower was terrifying. Humanity was not a species. Humanity was a storm, and Keller had never faced anything like it. The moment of realization, Michael stood at the front, firing calmly, shouting orders, pushing his squad forward through smoke and flames. Keller looked at him, at Emily, at Jake, and at all the humans who fought like there was no tomorrow. He finally understood the stories he had once ignored. Humans weren't brave because they were strong. They were brave because they refused to break. And suddenly, Keller felt something impossible. He feared them. These small, fragile creatures, because nothing in the galaxy fought like humanity. The battle on Rovos 9 grew louder by the second. Explosions shook the sand. Smoke covered the sky, and burning metal fell like rain. Yet, somehow, the humans of Bravo Squad moved across the chaos with a kind of wild confidence that Keller could not understand. They didn't hide behind walls. They didn't wait for orders from far above. They charged toward problems like fire was their best friend. Keller kept close to Commander Michael Grant, but the human outpaced him with surprising speed. Michael's armor was old, scratched, and heavy, yet he moved as if he had trained in battlefield storms since childhood. Maybe he had. Left flank. "Keep firing!" Michael shouted that. Sergeant Emily Carter was already there, kneeling behind broken steel plates as she fired round after round. Her aim was perfect. Every shot hit an enemy soldier trying to get closer. "On it?" Emily called back. Private. Jake Wilson raced past Keller, carrying a launcher bigger than his entire torso. He hummed a tune again, something cheerful, something that absolutely did not match the battlefield around them. Keller stared at him. "How can you be calm?" Jake didn't even look up. "Dude, I'm not calm. I'm terrified, but you get used to it." "Used to fear?" Keller asked, confused. Jack grinned. "Yeah. Humans feel fear every day. We just learn how to fight anyway." Keller blinked, stunned. His species trained their entire lives to remove fear. Humans trained their entire lives to fight with it. Human bonds as the enemy continued firing. Keller watched the humans help each other in ways he had never seen among Roltec warriors. His people followed strict ranks. No one disobeyed orders. No one risked themselves for another unless commanded. But humans did it without thinking. When a soldier tripped on debris, Emily grabbed him by the collar and pulled him behind cover. When Jake missed a shot, Ryan stepped in to shield him from enemy fire. When Michael needed information, 3 soldiers shouted updates at once. Their teamwork was messy, unorganized, chaotic, but effective. Keller could not deny it. Humans fought like a pack. Each one protected the other. Each one pushed the others forward. They did not act like individuals, they acted like a family. For a moment, Keller wondered what it might feel like to belong to something like that. A close call. The sand beside him exploded. A blast of plasma grazed his shoulder armor and sent him tumbling. The world blurred into shards of light and sound. Keller's ears rang, and heat scorched his neck. He tried to stand, but a shadow fell over him. Emily Carter slid beside him, grabbed his arm, and pulled him behind a metal barricade. "You okay?" she asked. Keller nodded, still stunned. You came to help me." Emily raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, of course, I did. Why wouldn't I?" "Because there was danger." Emily gave him a look that almost made him feel foolish. That's when people need help the most. Keller swallowed hard. Her words struck him deeper than any weapon. Enemy pressure builds. The enemy forces tightened their formation. Massive armored beasts stomped across the sand. Metal drones flew overhead. Artillery thundered from far behind the ridge. The humans were fighting well, but the enemy had numbers. Too many. Keller sensed the pressure building. His instincts screamed that they should retreat and regroup. Commander Michael shouted, "We must fall back. There are too many." Michael didn't even turn around. "Humans don't fall back until we know the others are safe." "Otters? Otters? Otters?" Keller asked. "The settlement behind us," Michael said. "Civilians, families, kids. You think we're leaving them to die?" Keller's chest tightened again. Roltec soldiers fought to protect their empire. Humans fought to protect their people. There was a difference he was now starting to understand. A dangerous push. Michael raised his fist in order. "Bravo, squad. Push forward. Clear the central line." Keller felt his stomach twist. The central line was filled with heavy enemy cannons. It was practically a death zone. "Dat." Emily shouted, "Let's go." Jake yelled, "Woo, I've been waiting for this." Ryan cracked his knuckles. Time to make some noise. Keller stared at them. They were surrounded, outnumbered, under attack, and they ran forward like they were racing toward a celebration. His mind struggled to accept it. Were humans reckless? Brave? Math? Maybe all three. Still, Keller followed. Something inside him refused to stay behind. He sprinted through smoke, firing at anything that moved. He felt heat, dust, and shaking ground beneath him. Metal fragments sliced the air. Laser shots screamed past his ears. And then he witnessed something he would never forget. Jake's heroic move, a towering enemy brute, leaped from the ridge. It slammed into the ground right in front of Emily, its claws extended, ready to tear the sniper apart. Keller froze. Emily did not have time to shoot, but Jake did. The private threw himself between them, fired a rocket at point-blank range, and the explosion came so fast that Keller barely registered it. The blast knocked Emily backward. Jake hit the ground hard. The brute was torn apart. Keller rushed to Jake's side. "Private Wilson! Are you injured?" Jake coughed, blinking up. "Just my pride." Emily knelt beside him, checking his armor for cracks. "You idiot," she whispered. "You could have died." Jake smiled. "But you didn't." Keller stared at them both. His people would never do such a thing. Such a risk, such a sacrifice. Humans did it like it was natural. Keller's realization deepens as the battle raged on. Keller felt something new stirring in him, something beyond fear. Respect. Humans were fragile. Humans were shore-lived. Humans were always facing danger. But they fought harder than any species he had ever seen. And they fought for each other. Not for glory, not for orders, but from something deeper. Keller didn't know the human word for it yet, but he felt it grow inside him. Loyalty. Human loyalty was strong enough to scare him, strong enough to inspire him, strong enough to change him. As another wave of enemies approached, Keller tightened his grip on his weapon. For the first time in his life, He didn't feel like he was fighting for the Roltech. He felt like he was fighting for the humans beside him, and that realization terrified him even more than the enemy army. Smoke covered the sky of Ravos 9 like a dark blanket, and the air tasted like burning metal. Keller stood with his weapon raised, breathing hard, trying to understand the chaos around him. The enemy army was tightening their grip. More soldiers, more de Martinez, more fire. But Bravo Squad did not slow down. Commander Michael Grant moved ahead with fast, sharp steps. He didn't waste movement, didn't show stress, didn't even blink as he checked the battlefield. His voice cut through the explosions like steel. Shift right. Emily, take. High ground. Jake reload. Stay close to Ryan. Kailor. On me. Keller obeyed before he even understood why. Something about Michael's presence pulled him forward. Like gravity. Emily climbed a broken tower frame without hesitation. Dust falling from her boots. Jake carried a heavy rocket launcher on his back as if it weighed nothing. Ryan dragged a wounded soldier behind a wall, patched him up, and jumped back into the fight. The humans worked fast, loud, and full of fire. Keller felt like he was running beside a storm. The enemy push begun. Deep horn echoed from the enemy lines. Then came the marching hundreds of armored troops in perfect formation. Behind them, massive war beasts stomped forward, covered in metal plates and glowing runes. Keller's eyes widened. He knew these creatures. They were called Scarn Claws, used only when the enemy wanted total destruction. They could tear open heavy tanks like paper. The fact that the enemy released them meant only one thing. They planned to destroy everything. Michael shouted, "Brasse! Brasse! Don't let them break the line." Emily fired the first shot. A Scarn Claw took a bullet straight in the eye and fell sideways, smashing into its own troops. More came running. Jake fired a rocket. Ryan threw a grenade. Michael shot 2 shots so perfectly timed that Keller wondered if humans trained in some form of combat magic. Keller aimed at one of the beasts and fired, but the creature barely slowed. He swallowed. His hands shook. Fear was back. He hated the feeling, but it didn't leave. Close quarters, Chalson. Scarn Claw broke through the front and jumped straight into the human line. Keller raised his weapon butt. Michael was faster. The commander rolled under the beast's claws, fired 3 shots into its underbelly, and used its dying weight as cover from the gunfire behind it. Keller stared with shocked doubt. Michael wiped dust off his visor. "Don't freeze. Move." Keller moved. The next few minutes felt like hours. A dodged fire pushed forward and fought beside humans who refused to fall. Their shouts, their courage, their determination had filled the battlefield with energy he had never felt before. He heard Emily yelling from above. 1 moving left, 2 more incoming. Keller, duck. Keller dropped instantly. A bullet whizzed over his head and hit an enemy soldier sneaking behind him. Emily shouted, "You're welcome." Humans saved each other without hesitation. They saved him too. For a moment, Keller wondered if he truly understood anything about them before today. The giant approachise. Deep mechanical roar echoed across the field. Keller turned and saw something huge, bigger than the Scarn Claws, bigger than any tank. A massive metal war machine walked on 3 legs, each step shaking the ground. The human soldiers tensed. Ryan breathed out. "Oh great, a hammer titan." "That's just what we needed." Jake grinned nervously. "Yeah. This day keeps getting better." Keller stepped back. His training told him to retreat. Even Roltech forces avoided hammer titans. They could crush bunkers in seconds. Keller's voice cracked. "Commander, Commander, we should pull back." Michael didn't look afraid. In fact, he looked focused, dangerously focused. "We can't," he said. "Why?" Michael pointed behind them. In the far distance, Keller could see small structures, homes, shelters, Towers. The human settlement. Because if we fall back, Michael said, that thing reaches them in less than 20 minutes. Keller's stomach twisted. Humans weren't fighting to win. They were fighting so others could live. This kind of courage, this kind of pressure, Keller had never experienced anything like it. The Titan charges the Hammer Titan lowered its main cannon. Blue light gathered inside the barrel, brighter and brighter. Emily shouted, "It's charging a full energy blast," Ryan yelled. "Unless we want to get erased from the map, someone stops that thing." Jake looked at Michael and asked quietly, "Now?" Michael nodded. "Now." Jake grabbed his launcher and sprinted toward the Titan with reckless speed. Keller shouted, "Private Wilson, you will die." Jake turned his head and shouted back with a smile, "Maybe, but only if the blast hits me." It was madness, absolute madness. Humans were insane, and yet incredibly brave. Keller had no choice. He ran after Jake. A desperate fight, the Titan fired its first blast, but Emily shot the cannon's side just in time, making the beam shift slightly and melt a trench instead of wiping out the squad. She yelled, "That's all I can do. Finish it." Keller and Jake got close. Too close. The Titan's giant metal legs slammed down, missing Keller by inches. Sand and debris exploded everywhere. Jake aimed the launcher. "Cover me." Keller fired at the Titan's joints, drawing its attention. The machine roared and turned its cannons toward Keller. Jake yelled, "Don't stop shooting." Keller kept firing, heart pounding, hands trembling, knowing the Titan would kill him in seconds. Jake fired the rocket. The explosion shook the entire battlefield, blasting the Titan's right joint apart. "The Titan stumbled," Michael shouted. "Bravo squad, push now." The humans charged with full force. Explosives, bullets, grenades. Every soldier gave everything they had. The Titan collapsed with a violent crash, sending dust flying like a storm. Silence followed. A heavy, exhausted silence. Human strength revealed. Keller stood still, breathing hard. He looked at Jake, who dropped to the ground and laughed like he had just finished a fun race. Emily climbed down from the tower, wiping sweat from her forehead. Ryan punched Jake's shoulder and said, "You're insane, but good job." Then Keller looked at Michael. The commander stood tall, staring over the battlefield, eyes sharp, ready for the next threat. Keller realized something powerful. Humans did not fight because they were fearless. They fought because they refused to let fear control them. This made them more dangerous, more powerful, and more inspiring than any species Keller had ever known. For the first time, Keller felt proud to fight beside humanity. And yet, fear still lingered inside him, not fear of the enemy, but fear of what humans were capable of. The fall of the Hammer Titan shook the battlefield like an earthquake. Sand flew into the air, smoke rose in twisting spirals, and for a brief moment, everything went strangely quiet. Keller stood in the middle of the destruction, his chest rising and falling fast. His armor was scratched, dented, and covered in dust, but he was alive. The humans were alive too. Commander Michael Grant walked through the smoke with steady steps, checking each member of Bravo Squad. Emily leaned on a piece of broken metal, breathing hard, but still alert. Ryan tightened the straps on his armor, ignoring the small cuts on his face. Jake sat on a rock, holding his launcher like it was a trophy. Keller watched them all, still confused, still shocked. These humans had just taken down a machine that entire Roll-Tech platoons would retreat from. Yet they acted like they had simply finished a difficult day of training. Humans were terrifying. Not because they were strong, but because they refused to break. A moment of combat, not peace. Michael approached Keller. "You did well," he said softly. Keller blinked. "I nearly died." "So did we," Michael replied, brushing dust off his shoulder. "That's war." Keller didn't understand how Michael could say those words so calmly. The commander wasn't careless. He wasn't foolish. but he faced death with no hesitation. Keller found his voice. You humans, you do not fight like others. Michael looked out over the smoke-filled field. That's because we've had to fight since the beginning of our history. No matter what the universe throws at us, humans learn, humans adapt, and humans stand together. Keller lowered his gaze. Your courage. It frightens me. Michael placed a hand on his shoulder. Good. Fear means you see the truth clearly. Keller didn't answer. He didn't know what to say. New dangers rise. The silence didn't last long. A sharp, painful screech echoed across the battlefield, like metal grinding against itself. Keller spun toward the sound. The enemy lines were shifting, marching, regrouping. Emily's voice came from above as she climbed a ruined vehicle for better view. Michael? You're going to want to see this? Michael joined her, raising his binoculars. His jaw tightened. Keller stepped closer. What is it? Emily pointed. Reinforcements. And a lot of them. Over the ridge, more troops appeared. Heavily armed infantry. Armored drones. Tank-like machines with twin cannons glowing blue. And behind them all, Keller's heart sank. Another Titan. But different. Bigger. Faster. Stronger, a Seahead Titan. Keller whispered, we cannot defeat that. Ryan's eyes widened. Oh, come on. Didn't we just kill a giant robot? Do they have a subscription service for these things? Jaik. Lawit. Man, if they do, they're getting their money's worth. Keller stared at them. How can you joke at a time like this? Emily shrugged. It helps us stay focused. Keller couldn't believe it. His people would be preparing retreat plans. Humans prepared jokes. Madness. But admirable madness. Truth hits hard. Michael turned to the squad. Listen up. The enemy wants to break through us and reach the settlement. We're the only line between them and thousands of innocent lives. Emily nodded. Then we hold. Ryan cracked his knuckles. Then we hit first. Jake smiled as he checked his launcher. Then we blow something up. Keller felt something heavy in his chest. Not fear. This time, something deeper. Humans do not fear death, he said quietly. Michael shook his head. You're wrong. We fear it more than anyone. Keller looked confused. But you do not show it. That's the point, Michael replied. We feel fear, but we keep moving anyway. Keller stood silent for a moment. The truth slid into him slowly, painfully. Roltec warriors fought without fear because they were raised to feel nothing. Humans fought with fear because they felt everything, and that made them far more dangerous. The enemy advances. The siege Titan roared, firing a massive energy beam into the sky. The shockwave hit the ground, sending dust into the air. Enemy troops marched behind it in perfect formation. The battlefield lit up again. Positions! Michael shouted. Kale! Or ran with the squad. He wasn't sure if he was more afraid of the enemy, or of what he would witness humans do next. Emily took her sniper post. Ryan and Jake set explosive traps along the ground. Michael stood at the front, staring at the Titan with steel in his eyes. Kaelor Joy Nedim. You plan to stay and fight? Michael nodded, until the last second. But the odds, Michael cut him off. Odds don't matter. Lives do. Keller felt something shift inside him. Something large, something powerful. He finally understood what made humans terrifying. They fought for more than orders, more than honor, more than victory. They fought for each other. The clash begins. Enemy cannons opened fire first. Blue beams scorched the sand. Explosions shook the ground so hard Keller almost fell. Michael pointed forward. Push left. Break their flank. Jake sprinted ahead, fearless as always. Ryan followed, throwing a smoke grenade that covered their approach. Keller fired at incoming drones. His hands still shook, but less now. He didn't want to run anymore. He didn't want to hide. He wanted to stand beside the humans. He wanted to earn the right to be in Bravo Squad. The Siege Titan stomped toward them, its giant cannons warming up. The heat from its weapons could be felt even from a distance. Emily shouted from above. "It's charging again! Move!" Keller ducked just as a beam sliced through the battlefield, carving a burning trail across the ground. Ryan shouted, "Michael, we can't take another hit like that." Michael didn't blink. "We won't. We're getting close." "Close to what?" Keller asked. Nika looked at him with a small but confident smile. "To the truth of why humanity still stands." Keller faces his Tiraras. The Titan prepared to fire again. Keller realized something that hit him harder than any blast. He feared the humans beside him more than he feared the enemy. Their courage was overwhelming. Their determination was unmatched. Their unity was unbreakable. And yet, Keller did not want to run from them. He wanted to learn from them. To fight with them. To understand them. Humans terrified him, but they also inspired him. And that was the truth. The battlefield was burning, and the night sky glowed red, as if the world itself had been wounded. Sarah kept firing, her breath sharp, her face covered in dirt and sweat. Noah stayed beside her, pushing new energy cells into her rifle whenever she needed them. Derek fought on the left, keeping the alien lines away from their position. They were tired, almost beyond human limits, but they refused to fall back. Varyn watched them with silent disbelief. He had seen courage in his life, but not like this. Humans fought as if they were made of iron, as if fear only made them stronger. He never understood them before. He always thought courage came from being calm and confident, but these humans were not calm. They were afraid. Varyn could see it clearly. Their eyes showed it. Their trembling hands showed it. But they kept fighting anyway. And that, he realized, was what made humans different. Suddenly, a deep vibration shook the ground. A low rumbling sound grew louder each second. Derek turned quickly. "No, not now," he whispered. Sarah pointed toward the horizon. "That sound. That's not the Grethel army. That's something else." The ground cracked open, and dust rose into the air. Machines, massive, spider-like walkers, emerged. They weren't Grethel machines. They were human reinforcements, Noah shouted hopefully. "Not exactly," Derek yelled back. Varyn watched the machines approach. Their armor was marked with symbols he recognized. "They are human machines, but from a different program," Varyn said quietly. Sarah looked at him. "Different program." Varyn nodded slowly. "Your planet made them long ago. Automated war machines designed to fight without soldiers. But you shut them down because they became too aggressive." Derek groaned. "You're telling me those things kill anything that moves?" "Yes," Varyn said. "Anything not coded into their friend system." Sarah tightened her grip on her rifle. "And who is coded as a friend?" "Only the humans from their time," Varyn answered softly. "Not you. Not you. Not you. Not me. Not Noah. Not Derek. No one here." A heavy silence fell. Then the machines fired. A spear of blue energy shot across the battlefield, cutting through several Grethel soldiers instantly. Another blast followed, burning a massive hole through the ground. The machines did not stop. They scanned, recalibrated, and prepared to fire again at anything that moved. Noah ducked behind the rocks as another blast hit close to their position. "Okay, so these things are trying to kill everyone." "Great." Varyn felt something new rise inside Hemacold, gripping sensations spreading from his chest. The Grethel terrified him. But these machines were different. They were precise. They were fast. They were emotionless. He had never felt terror like this. But the humans around him, while it scared, refused to freeze. Sarah immediately pulled open her pack and grabbed a small metal device. "We need to disable those walkers before they wipe out both sides," she said. Derek gave a dry laugh. Sarah, those are tanks with legs. We can't even scratch them. Not with guns, she replied. But maybe with this. She held up a small black cube, glowing faint blue. Varyn's eyes widened. Is that a disruptor? You know it. You know it, Noah asked. Double quotes, yes. It is designed to overload machine AI cores by sending false signals. But, Varyn hesitated, but it only works if someone gets very close. Sarah didn't hesitate. I'll go. Derek grabbed her arm. No, you're not trying that alone. Noah agreed. She's right. It's suicide. Varyn looked at the machines. He had never been close to humans before this war. He had never cared about them. But now, watching them argue about who should risk their life, he felt something shift inside him. He stepped forward. I will go. All three humans turned toward him at the same time. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Varyn, this isn't your fight. He shook his head. It became my fight the moment I stood with you. I learned fear. Today, yes, I learned what it means to be terrified, but I also learned what it means to stand with those who fight, even when afraid. Derek opened his mouth, but Varyn kept talking. You humans fight not because you are fearless, but because you refuse to give up. I will follow that example. Sarah exhaled, her face tightening. Varyn, if you go, you might not come back. He looked her directly in the eyes. No. Another blast hit nearby, and the ground shook violently. The walkers were getting closer. Sarah finally handed him the disruptor. He took it carefully. It felt heavier than he expected. How close do I need to be? He asked. Right under its core, Sarah answered. There's a hatch under each walker where the energy lines meet. If you plant it there, the overload will shut down the whole unit, Noah added. And you'll have about 3 seconds before it blows. Varyn nodded calmly. Derek pointed toward the left side of the battlefield. There's a ditch that leads straight toward the first walker. Use it for cover. It's risky, but it's your best shot. Varyn took one last look at Sarah, Noah, and Derek. You humans taught me fear, he sighed softly. Now, let me repay you. He ran. The walkers noticed movement immediately. Blue, targeting lights swept across the ground. Searching, Varyn slid into the ditch just in time as a blast tore through the air above him. Dirt rained down, but he kept moving. Another blast hit nearby. The ditch shook, but he didn't stop. His heart pounded. His hands trembled. He had never felt so afraid. When he reached the end of the ditch, he saw the underside of the first walker. Its metal legs moved like giant blades. Sparks fell from its joints. It scanned the battlefield for targets. Varyn took a deep breath. Humans, this is for you. He sprinted. The walker detected him instantly. A beam charged. The ground glowed blue. Varyn slid under the machine, slammed the disruptor into the hatch, and activated it. A loud crackling sound filled the air. The walker shook violently. Come on, he whispered. The light on the cube turned red. The explosion was deafening. The explosion lit up the battlefield like a small sun. A shockwave rolled through the ground, lifting dust and smoke high into the air. Sarah shielded her eyes as the first walker collapsed, its legs folding inward like a broken spider. Noah let out a sharp breath of relief. Derek stared in disbelief, barely able to speak. He did it, Derek said softly. He actually did it. But Sarah's eyes stayed fixed on the smoking crater. Not yet, she whispered. The smoke slowly cleared, and there lying on his back was Varyn. He wasn't moving. No. Noah breathed. No. Please. No. The remaining walkers adjusted their targeting systems, scanning the battlefield again. Sarah's instincts flared. They didn't have even a second to grieve. "Get down," she shouted. A blast struck the ground behind them, throwing all three humans forward. Dirt filled the air. The thunder of metal legs grew louder as the walkers relocked. Onto their positions. Derek crawled beside Sarah. "We need a plan." Sarah clenched her jaw. "Without Varyn as disruptor, we don't have anything that can shut them down." Noah pointed toward the burning walker Varyn had destroyed. "Wait. Maybe we do." Sarah looked at him, confused. "What are you thinking?" Noah pushed himself up. "If we can get inside that wrecked walker, maybe we can pull out its power core. It has enough energy to blow the other sky." Derek raised a brow. "Using a power core as a bomb. That's insane." Noah nodded. "Yeah, but it'll work." Sarah stared at the broken machine. Sparks flew from its joints. The air around it shimmered with leftover heat, but it wasn't impossible. "Okay," she said firmly. "We're doing it." The three ran low to the ground, dodging each blast behind fallen debris. The walkers noticed them immediately, their sensors shifting. One shot fired. Another. The humans slid behind a destroyed Grathel tank just in time. Noah looked around desperately. "They're cutting off the path." Sarah scanned the battlefield. "We need a distraction." Derek gave a dry, exhausted laugh. Sure. Let me just call one in." But then a voice came through the smoke. "I will give you one. Sira. Frose." That voice. Out of the dust stepped Varyn, limping. Wounded, scorched, but alive. Half of his armor was burned away. His chest glowed dimly where the explosion had hit him directly, yet he still stood. "You're alive," Noah choked out. Varyn managed a weak smile. "Bareli, but Inohu." The walkers turned immediately, their sensors detecting new movement. Varyn didn't flinch. He straightened his back, ignoring the pain. "Humans," he said with difficulty. "This time, let me finish what I started." Sarah tried to grab him. "Varyn." "Wait." But the alien stepped away from her. "I learned fear with you," he said. "But I also learned courage." He picked up a broken Grathel shield and held it in front of him. "Run," he told them. "Get the core. I will draw their fire." Before any of them could stop him, he broke into a sprint. The walkers reacted instantly. Beams of lethal blue fire rained down on Varyn. He raised the shield, absorbing the first hits. The second blast shattered it. The third hit the ground at his feet, knocking him sideways. Sarah swallowed the rising panic. "He won't last long." "Then let's move," Noah yelled. The three humans dashed across the battlefield as Varyn, stumbling but refusing to fall, waved his arms, shouted, and forced the machines to keep targeting him. Every blast he dodged drained what little strength he had left, but he kept going. Sarah reached the fallen walker first. "Derek, help me open the access panel." Derek wedged his rifle under the metal plating and pulled with all his strength. The panel snapped open, revealing the glowing power core humming inside Dot. Noah examined it quickly. "This thing's unstable. We only get one shot at this. How do we set it off?" Derek asked. Noah took a deep breath. "Simple. We remove it." He grabbed the core. The moment it left its chamber, a sharp, rising whine filled the air. "It's charging." Noah shouted. "We've got about 40 seconds. Sarah pointed at the nearest walker. "That one." "If we can throw the core under it," she stopped. The walker was aiming directly at Varyn. He was kneeling now, barely conscious. His body shook violently. He lifted his head just enough to see the machine preparing to fire. "No," Sarah screamed. Without thinking, she sprinted toward Varyn. Derek and Noah stared in shock. Sarah, where are you going? Derek yelled. Saved Wese, she cried back. I won't leave him to die. She ran across open ground as blasts tore the earth around her. The walker charged its main cannon. The blue light grew brighter. Sarah didn't stop. At the same time, Noah and Derek ran toward the other walker. They slid under its legs and shoved the power core beneath it. The rising whine reached a breaking point. Run, Noah shouted. The explosion hit like thunder. A massive shockwave shot outward. Metal tore apart. Fire burst into the sky. The nearest walker was ripped in half, collapsing in a shower of sparks. The second walker stumbled, its legs blown apart. The third lost its balance and fell face first into the dirt dot. The battlefield fell silent. Sarah reached Varyn just as the shockwave faded. She dropped to her knees beside him. He looked up at her weakly. You came back, she nodded, tears mixing with dust on her face. Of course, I did. Noah and Derek approached, coughing through the smoke. All around them, the enemy machines lay broken. The Grathol, armor-shacked by the destruction, began retreating into the distance. The battle was won. Sarah placed a hand on Varyn's shoulder. Itese? Over. You did Italiano. Varyn closed his eyes, exhausted. I fought beside humanity. Whispered. And now I understand why the galaxy fears you. Sarah squeezed his hand gently. And why we'll never forget you. The sun rose slowly behind them, casting golden light across the ruined battlefield. Humanity had survived because an alien had learned courage. And Varyn, once terrified, had become the hero he never expected to be.